little bit of an awkward video. I've already filmed the unboxing and review of this blaster right here, and yet here I am filming it again because I wanted a little bit more time to formulate an opinion on this one and really sink my teeth into this blaster. This may get a little bit rambly, and I'm gonna do my best not to, but trust me, it's worth it because this blaster is so unique and fills some really important roles that it's gonna change the game for a lot of people. For many of you, this is what you've been looking for some time. This being the Adventure Force Commandfire. Of course, this is the box right here. I've already unboxed, but it says it shoots up to 80 feet. It's got high-tech dart load. It comes with 80 darts. I bought this from my local Walmart, which I will have a link down below to walmart.com, where I purchased this for $40. And this is, I'm not gonna really take a look at the back of the box that much, I just wanted to show it off. But this blaster is unique in the fact that it has a hopper on it. What you would assume is similar to a Nemesis, except for this is for your standard elite dart. That should get a lot of people excited. Because to load this thing, I mean, I've got a bunch of darts right here. I'll just take a handful here. And you just grab a handful, they do all have to be facing the same direction, but you just place them in there. And then you grab more darts, and you just place them in there. And you just rinse and repeat until it's essentially almost full. I mean, I can just load 40 darts in basically no time flat. It's loaded now. I will turn it on and fire. And you can see, reliability-wise, it's pretty good. I actually had an X-Shot dart come out of it. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's not perfect, neither is the Nemesis. You have to kind of jostle the Nemesis sometimes, and this has that same kind of issue on it. But that mechanism right there is really, really cool. For what the Nerf Infamous does with the auto-reloading of mags, which was very, very exciting, this does something similar but different. This is kind of their answer to the Nerf Infamous. And keep in mind, this thing is $40, and since it's at Walmart and it's an Adventure Force blaster, it's gonna go on sale quite often. It won't be hard to pick them up for even 30, probably even 25 or 20 as time goes on. And you'll notice it's also not a very big blaster. It's only slightly bigger than a stock Raven. It is a bit chunky, and I will admit it is absolutely fugly. But it's not a very big blaster, 40 dart capacity, and it holds another 40 up here, totaling 80. This is so you can just scoop in here, grab a fistful of darts, load this thing up, and keep it going. You also don't have to have the hopper closed in order to fire it. It will work with the hopper open. Like, so you can easily just top this thing back up. If you're already in a stationary position, you don't need to worry. You can just keep filling the blaster up and up. Will it jam? Possibly, yes. I've had 2 jams out of this thing, but reliability-wise, while it may not be insanely reliable, again, neither is the Nemesis, this blaster offers a ton. This is gonna be very exciting for a lot of people, myself included. I'm a big fan of this blaster now. Let's go over what the actual blaster looks like here, because we've got a really awkward looking setup, and I'm dumping darts all over the place. We'll just close that up. So starting at the front here, this bottom orange piece is in fact your muzzle. That's where the darts come out. They do come out lower than your point of aim, simply because it works with a hopper, much like the Nemesis. This big round up here, we've already talked about. This gray piece of plastic will slide around. That actually is how you store darts in it for extra ammo. And then this thing down here is supposed to be a foregrip, and no, it does not pivot. I don't know why. Not that you'd necessarily want it, because it would be kind of awkward, but it doesn't. It's just a comfortable grip. The body itself is really frighteningly ugly. I guess it kind of has to be because it's very tall. It's a little thick in the front where the hopper is, but honestly not that bad at all. But this whole mechanism cams backwards to reveal this, and this is to help you with ease of loading. You do have to have the darts in this orientation in order for them to fire. They will probably fire them backwards too, but if they're kind of just jumbled up in there, It's not going to automatically fix that for you. You will probably jam the blaster. Not that it's hard to fix it. I mean, it's relatively easy. Then that will cam forward, and this can either slam down like that and lock, or you can move it forward and lock it. On this orange piece, this orange door, is this little mechanism right here. It's like a slinky or a folding pyramid kind of thing. There's no spring or mechanism or anything in this. This is for just adding tension to darts. So as the hopper unloads and the darts go towards the bottom, it just needs a little bit of pressure, and that's all this is. It's a little bit of pressure to keep darts from bouncing around too much in there and to push them down into the conveyor belt system. And then there is a flip-up sight if you want to. It's actually like ridiculously hard to get out, and it doesn't really do a whole lot, in honesty. And then you'll probably just shove it back down because there's no point in using it, because your point of aim is way lower than that thing ever was. Going towards the back, you've got all this decals and stuff right here. It says Adventure Force. It's got the weird motif right here that continues onto the plastic. This is a battery door right here. It is powered by 6 AA batteries. You've got an on-off switch, which revs the flywheels only. There is no rev trigger on this blaster. Then you've got the grip. The grip is extremely comfortable. Seriously, this is a very, very comfortable grip. It's huge. Anybody could fist this thing, and yet the trigger pull is beautiful. This is a very nice blaster to grip. It looks fugly, but it handles so well. I like this a lot. Then it's got 2 points right here and here for a sling, which is going to be very important, and that's pretty much the entire blaster. It is mirrored on both sides of the blaster. It's an interesting beast. It doesn't look that good. I'm not going to say it looks great. It's actually a pretty fugly design, but they used just about everything they could for what this thing is, being like literally half the size of a Nemesis. It ain't bad. It doesn't have a stock or anything like that, but this is not too bad. And that's one of the first things I can talk about, is that if you really wanted to, you could cut off this thing, you can cut off the barrel, because of course this is just a flywheel cage. Cut off this foregrip, and you could make it even smaller. That would cut off about 1/3 of the entire blaster right there, and it would still be fully operational. So that's good to know. In fact, I could probably just unscrew this orange piece and completely remove it. That's a thing you could do with this one. And then you have a 40 dart, essentially, pistol. Now, we do have to compare this to things like the Turbo Advance, and then, of course, Dart Zone's own Magnum Super Drum, and then things like the Enforcer as well, because all those shoot 40 darts, including this one right here. That just seems to be the sweet spot number, but this being flywheel doesn't make it comparable to things like the Magnum Super Drum or the Turbo Advance, because those are Springer pump action, and yet, with this hopper system, it is far better than even their own Enforcer or Dart Storm. This mechanism is really nice. This is the entire reason you would buy the blaster, and it's a very good reason to buy this blaster, because the people who want to run a blaster like this, you've already made up your mind. Performance-wise, it works pretty darn good. It's not anything that's going to set your world on fire. It performs about what you would expect, but it doesn't hit like the 100 FPS ranges we've been seeing with some other blasters. That could be because of the new darts for the most part, because I did fire out these ones right here. These are actually X-Shot darts, and they worked a bit better in terms of velocity, although the accuracy was crap. These are a brand new dart in the Dart Zone line. They are waffle tips, but they're squashed waffle tips. These are really interesting. They're just slightly bigger heads than the Super Dart with waffle cutouts in them, and it comes with 80 of them, and as you can tell from the firing demonstration, excellent performance from these darts. No qualms whatsoever. If these things can be picked up in 100 packs for under 10 bucks, I can highly recommend them, because they worked amazingly. But I did have some minor issues with it, sometimes hitching on shots. I have had it jam on me a couple of times, and all that required was me opening up the hopper and kind of dipping my finger down into the very bottom of the hopper and kind of just jostling the darts a little bit. There is a self-agitator in the blaster to prevent that kind of thing, but it's going to happen every once in a while when a dart goes head first down and yet jams up and can't get pushed out. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than like a Nemesis, but you are using full-length darts for the first part. And the second part is that because this thing is so simple inside, the conveyor belt and the agitator and the pusher, yes, it has a conveyor belt and a pusher at the same time. That whole system is basically self-contained and really easy to isolate and work on its own. And then you just have a flywheel cage that's gapped for normal darts. You can slam whatever motors and whatever flywheel cage you could possibly want in this blaster, or just wait for somebody to hopefully make an aftermarket cage for this thing, like Open Flywheel Project may design something that would fit in there. But you could get this thing hitting ridiculously hard and being hopper fed. And if you wanted to do something crazy like extend the hopper out, you could definitely do that. It would take a little bit of work and it would make the blaster look really ugly, but you could definitely fashion some kind of hopper, or even just put a box for more darts sticking up on this thing. But what would a blaster like this, that isn't necessarily 100% reliable, although still very good, useful for? And I think the answer to that, and my main suggestion for this blaster for just about every player, is run this thing as a secondary. It doesn't use magazines, and if you had this thing slung on your back, and this lid does, it does pop open if you really try. If you bash it, it will come undone. But all this stuff together is such a self-contained little system that it would be really easy for you to just pull this blaster up and then just start hosing down targets with it. And then putting it back on your back or letting it over the screen and going back to your Strife or whatever you happen to be using, which makes it a really effective suppression tool. HVZers could easily use 2 of these things if they wanted to, or just have one and have a bag full of darts that you already pointing downwards, so you can just reach into your bag, pull out a bunch of darts, and slam them in here. There's a lot of things this blaster is good for in that category. If you want the extreme range, you can replace, of course, the motors and the flywheel cage and everything in there, and slam just a crazy high-crust cage and just completely decimate people. I'm not sure how well the firing system will deal with overvolting, and the rate of fire is pretty lethargic. You can, of course, update that, no issue, and I'm not sure how well it will work after the fact. There's, of course, a lot of timing mechanisms and stuff involved. But the rate of fire is good enough that it's a great suppression tool. And the Commandfire fills a role that it's really hard to kind of describe this. Like, there are blasters that do similar things, but most of them use chains or ridiculously big drums. This will do all of that, and for those of you wanting an Infinus, but maybe you don't like the way it looks or how hard it is to mod, because this thing's going to be far, far easier, and you still want that top-upable, you still want to be able to top up your blaster, you still want to be able to do all that fun stuff, this is a good option. Again, for $40 brand new right now, and this will go down, this is an excellent buy for just about any Nerfer, especially if you are a new player. If you are brand new and have not picked up a blaster, this is an excellent, maybe even the best option I could ever give you. The Light Command and whatnot, another Adventure Force blaster, was very good, and it used the chains and you could get more chains, and that's a completely different scenario than this thing, because this is completely self-contained. This blaster right here, as I'm holding it, is 80 darts, 40 to go, and then a couple seconds to reload. You can't really beat that, in my opinion. If you want to go rival, which many of you do, that's all well and good. And for a lot of people, that's normally good enough. If you want to go with a Nemesis and use all that stuff, even though this is far cheaper than a Nemesis, you can definitely go that route. But those rival rounds are not cheap at all, and foam darts are far cheaper and far more common in a Nerf war. And also they carry their distance and they carry their velocity far better than those blasters ever will. Rival rounds tend to lose their velocity and their accuracy very, very quickly. This, not so much. And that's why I think, even though I was not sent this blaster for review, in fact, Dart Zone and Primetime Toys in general completely ignored my emails this year, this is a blaster that I think will completely change the game for a lot of people, and it's really something you all need to pay attention to, because this is going to be a hot one. I am very impressed with the Dart Zone. I am very impressed with the Adventure Force Commandfire. I'm going to be modding this thing in the near future. I have, of course, the commission to finally finish and everything like that before I can ever tackle any other blaster right now, but once I get to this thing and tune it up, it's gonna be a complete game changer in my opinion. I have a feeling this is gonna be one of my, if not my favorite blaster of this year. And this is already pretty hot coming off things like the Infamous. So let me know what you think about the Commandfire, if you think there's any other rules about this that I'm not exactly covering right now. I think the best one I could think of is putting this thing on a tripod and just having the hopper open and just having people load darts into it and firing it. There's no other blaster I feel besides like the Nemesis with rival rounds that could do anything like that. But again, with this being for full-length darts, it's really hard not to keep your eye out on this one. I'm Walcom S7, thank you very much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.
You gotta